Well, we are at the India Global Forum here in Dubai, and we've had the opportunity of meeting some incredible people in the tech sector, in the unicorn sector as well. We've got Umang Bedi, who's the co-founder of Dailyhunt. The parent organization, of course, is Versace. So thanks very much for being with us. Could you tell us a little bit about how you see the present situation in India with unicorns? Because in as much as we've got incredible stories, not least of all, what about concerns that many aren't really working out the way they should?
Vishnu, firstly, big thank you for having me here. Really appreciate the time. I think the last 2 years witnessed unprecedented growth around metrics that weren't necessarily moving the bottom line, right? And I think when you've had a phase where a crazy amount of capital has come in. A lot of capital has come in on the back of what I call vanity metrics, right? And those vanity metrics haven't necessarily translated into real business outcomes in terms of tangible shareholder value. What I mean by that is unit economic positive businesses, revenue generating businesses, profit generating businesses, EBITDA and free cash flow generating businesses. And I think with the quantitative easing that happened in the US, with the amount of money that was printed, with the time spent that indexed very heavily on digital during COVID, we saw some very artificial peaks that haven't self-sustained post the pandemic going away. So time spent on digital has come down relatively, and of course, there is a scarcity of capital in capital markets, and I think you see that in public markets globally, barring India. India's kind of buckled the trend, but globally, public markets are down 70%, 60%, 40%. And so funds have over indexed because their mark to market ratios of the ratio between public and private investing has swapped over. They were earlier 70% public and 30% private. With public falling so low, the privates have kind of become a larger part of their books. And so they're over indexed on indexing into public market stock because it's available cheap, right? Now, what that does is create a scarcity of capital. So you can't continue to grow at that furious pace that you were growing those vanity metrics during COVID. And I think that has impacted a lot of startups, right? For example, we're in the local language space. And, while Daily Hunt has been creating revenue and profit and EBITDA, a lot of other companies haven't been able to do so because their core businesses haven't generated cash. And that has put an insane amount of stress just in our sector. And that is uniform across education, across fintech, across all consumer tech sectors. And so what you see now is a big emphasis on B2B companies that are being built from India for the world, companies that are talking about unit economics being positive very, very quickly, profitability. And I think that's the sign of the times to come. So if you have to think about a business, I don't want to say this with surety, but I definitely feel of the 120 unicorns, a lot of them haven't demonstrated the core fundamentals, right? And so I think it's going to be a testing time over the next one.
What about layoffs? Now, I was speaking to Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the minister, yesterday, and what he said is that tech companies which are in a difficult situation need to ensure a layoff system where people are protected by as far as possible. We in India aren't into this hiring and firing sort of mind space. That's important, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I couldn't agree with Rajiv sir more than what he has said. At our end, what we've done is been very empathetic. So through COVID, I think we were the only startup that I can think of that never fired a single employee. We paid out the first year an average pay hike of 16%, the second year an average pay hike of 15%, right, on the 2 years of COVID. So we never laid off anyone, and we kept our people intact. More recently, what we have done is rationalized all our costs, such that the company now has a 3 year runway because we believe that this winter could be longer than just a year, right? And so we're being very, very, austere in our measures. And as a part of our regular performance appraisals, we've let go of 150 people out of 3,000, which is kind of business as usual, performance based stuff. But the company kind of sat together with all the managers and said, hey, we're in a difficult position. We got to have a 3 year runway. So instead of laying off, we've given crazy salary hikes across the last 2 years when people weren't having avenues to spend the money. So across the board, for people above 10 lakh rupees, we've taken 11% pay cut. And employees are really happy because you are capitalizing with human capital, which is what we are based on, to really drive future growth. But at the same time, you're saving jobs and not being really brutal. And I think the industry, needs to talk about that a little bit more. We need to be a little bit more humane because we haven't experienced this kind of a thing in India before.
Your monthly average numbers are higher than Facebook, which is incredible. Your valuation is $5 billion. Did you ever think you're going to get here? $5 billion. That's incredible.
So I don't look at valuations, Vishnu. There are
We do. They're like fantastic.
it's a reflection of what investors value you at a point in time. I think what we're focused on is serving Bharat, which is true to our mission. We believe that 80% of India's audience does not speak English. We want to serve them with experiences across news and entertainment, which is what we do with Daily Hunt, partnering with folks like yourselves to disseminate information in local languages very, very quickly. And of course, in entertainment and now with short form video with Josh. More recently, we've just launched something called Public Vibe, which is a hyperlocal video platform that provides you with content and services in your neighborhood. Our mission is really how do you build profitable businesses, right? And so with Daily Hunt, what we've done is we've crossed a milestone of over $200 million in revenue, but have broken 10% EBITDA positive for the last 10 months. So that business is generating cash. In Josh, we're on this path to profitability where the entire company breaks even in 18 months. And we feel that the tech landscape can be transformed by when you have multiple monetization models. Today, it's ads driven on Daily Hunt. On Josh, it's driven through advertising as well as a tech driven influencer marketplace and commerce, which is in the form of virtual gifting and live commerce, right? And so I think when you're diversifying the base, diversifying the revenue, de risking the business, proving that you have profitability in the business, it kind of does attract a decent valuation. But we hope to grow that over time.
An Indic platform empowering a billion Indians to discover, right? How many languages? 14 Indian languages. Um, what do you mean by an Indic platform? I mean, I guess you are catering to an Indian clientele, but at one level, it's also a global clientele, isn't it?
It is. It is a very interesting phenomenon. I'll give you an anecdotal story. We were serving 15, 14 different local languages. Indian languages is what I refer to as Indic. I hate using the word vernacular because it has a negative connotation. So we started serving these languages and we found that a large number of diaspora around the world was wanting to be informed in their local language, and we saw traffic just growing organically. More recently, we added Arabic as a language by partnering with over 10,000 creators, launched in this region in 6 of the GCC countries. And we haven't spent a rupee in marketing, but in 5 of these 6 markets, we're already the largest news platform. And so I think what that has benefited us is having a large diaspora in this region, which is about 20% or 25% of the population, adding Arabic and making it more locally relevant. And that's what is really empowering. So when you have the attention span and people are coming back daily, time spent is growing, that unleashes the ability to monetize and makes the platform relevant for partners, advertisers, e-commerce partners. And that's our predominant revenue stream on Daily Hunt.
Wonderful speaking to you, Umang.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much,
very much,
Vishnu.
and we'll be in touch. Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Well, there you have it, Umang Bedi. It's one of the most remarkable stories is Daily Hunt. The number of people it's reached out to, the number of languages that they actually work with, and yes, the valuation story as well.